Hey, welcome to the Charles Aris podcast. This is Industry Uncovered, the Ag Tech series. Welcome. My name is Micah Wells. I'm a senior associate practice leader here at Charles Aris. Today, we are very lucky to have two special guests joining the podcast today. We have Sean Akadiri and Mark Tague, both from AgBoost's. Gentlemen, welcome so very much. If you could please give us just a little overview on your role and also on the organization, that would be wonderful.
Thank you for having us, Micah. I appreciate
So glad.
you giving
Honored to
us
have
the
you guys.
opportunity. We're really excited to be here, actually. Me and Mark, we've been talking about this for a minute, so the time has come. And it's also excited because Mark has also brought a new life into this world. So we come with a different energy, right? But anyway, my name is Sean Akadiri. I'm the founder and CEO of AgBoost's, which is the data analytics company here in Oklahoma City. We have a platform, I like to say we're the 23andMe of the livestock industry. We have a platform that literally breaks down complex genomic data and give cattle producers a visual insight on how to better select their animals, but also most importantly, capitalize on that data and also give them insight in a way to interact the value so that they can market their animals with premium. So AgBoost is not just a breeding tool, is also a marketing tool as well. We primarily right now focusing on beef cattle as well. So, but anyway, I'll let Mark introduce himself.
Thanks for that intro. You're too kind, and we definitely appreciate being here for sure. So, I'm Mark Tague. I'm a fourth generation cattleman. I'm a reformed banker. I like to say I got here as quickly as I could. I've been working in technology for quite a while now. A few years ago, I and a team created a piece of workflow software and sold it to a Fortune 300 a few years back. So I'm super excited to be here in this space. And, one of the things that I like to say about the ag tech space, or specifically what AgBoost does is, in the business world, there are a lot of really powerful data analytics tools like Tableau and Power BI. And, if you go out to the corporate world, most everybody knows those names. It really doesn't exist in the ag industry or the cattle business specifically. So kind of like to say we're the Tableau or the Power BI of the cattle industry. And the tagline that I always like to use is, your data has a story to tell, and what we're trying to do is just give it a voice. We're trying to make it sure that it gets out there in the marketplace so people can understand it quickly. It adds transparency to the process, and it really makes it more fun, quite frankly. I mean, we want people to consume data the way that human beings should consume data. And it's quite fun to share it too. So it's kind of interesting for what we found is a lot of our producer customers are really excited about taking the data that they have and sharing that story with their customers and potential customers too. So thanks again, Micah, for that great intro. We appreciate that.
Oh, just honored to have you guys here. We've known each other for quite a while. I would say over a decade, I think. So yeah, to your story, Mark, and your point, Sean, just watching people show this data on their phone, they're excited and they're bragging about it. I mean, that's always been a dream, I think, for people involved in testing and the data and how to bring those together. And I think you guys are hoping that come true. So just glad to have you and appreciate that introduction. One question that comes to mind is, as all this technology continues to evolve, is there some notable advancements that have had, any like significant impact on your organization in particular?
So one of the things about AgBoost, and we understood that in the beginning, yes, we're focusing on genetics, but also genetic data is not just all in all be all. There's also phenotype. There's also, other data sets that factor into better productivity, right? And everybody has done a lot in different spaces. So the cool thing about us, because we're agnostic and because we understand how to not only source data, but also interpret it, we've actually talking to other companies as well, that we can integrate on the back end that are also focusing on other aspect of, collecting various information on most especially on the phenotypes as well. I mean, you have companies that have tags out there that can collect data from satellites. That's a huge technology. That's an advantage. All of this data makes sense, right? Then you also have other companies that primarily just focus on collecting phenotypes on other larger scales. And with this industry, everything is very, very segmented, right? So There hasn't been no infrastructure that really helps streamline all of this processing, all of this valuable together. So yes, as technology begin, and then also now with the help of artificial intelligence, it kind of makes everything a little bit more streamlined depending on the use cases and whatnot. So it's an exciting time in the digital world as well, because as you know, everything is all data. Everybody has a data footprint. Everything is all data. So yeah, so all of this technology and to be able to incorporate it into AgBoost's is exciting. So yeah, it's giving us opportunity to not only focus on just even the livestock, not just the livestock, but also you're looking at companion animals as well.
Absolutely.
Right? So those are all of those spaces that we know that we can play and we have a fit in, you know what I mean, and give us opportunity to continue to expand, but also giving value to any data sets and using the data in multiple different ways, right?
Multiple ways of the same data set. I think that's where we're going to
Absolutely.
continue to see that growth and using it throughout the system. Mark, anything to add to that as I take all your thunder?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off that just a little bit. So, Sean had mentioned, there's a lot of emerging technologies that are out there today. And I'm excited about it because it personally makes that data collection easier for producers that are out there. I mean, that's one of the tough things to do is, after you've been out in the pens all day long, nobody wants to come in at midnight and start entering a bunch of herd data, right? So if we can collect that data in a more automated fashion, that's definitely going to lead to more people using it, right? And then, Sean had mentioned AI, and I'll throw in blockchain technology, right? I mean, there are ways to build trust in these systems that do not require a lot of human intervention, right? So it makes, again, I always press on transparency of the data. It's more trustworthy when you have something that is audited, for example, like on a blockchain type system. AI can help us go across. I mean, listen, if you think about, just breed associations alone, the millions and millions and millions of data points that they have going back decades, right? A human being trying to digest all that information is not going to be able to do that efficiently. And I believe that's where AI can come in and really help us move our industry forward for certain.
Besides AI, I think there's some more things out there that maybe would help enhance what we do now even further.
Yes, I do. I believe that too. I mean, there are the power of the cell phone in someone's hand today is, it's amazing if you really think about the amount of, we've got more computing power in our hands than it took to send a man to the moon back in the day, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
All the different emerging things that you can do that with, just really simple things. QR codes, for example, right? Being able to track inventories of medicine using QR codes when if you're a large rancher and you've got cowboys out there, giving meds to an animal, and you're trying to track your inventory or make sure you're compliant with the process verified program. It's all those data points and all those mistakes or things that we can prevent doing that will help, again, build trust in the beef industry, right? I mean, consumers today are so much more concerned about, where does their food come from? How was that animal treated in its lifetime? What was it given? They want to know. I mean, they want to use their dollars to make those type of purchases that benefit, the environment and ranchers additionally, right? So really what we're trying to do is all of these different emerging technologies helps us, each individual rancher, tell the story, tell that story of your family, right? I mean, you're proud of your ranch, you're proud of your lineage, you're proud of your heritage. Let's get that story out there in an automated fashion to as many people as we possibly can. And we can do that with a cell phone today, which is just really amazing.
Yeah. One of the hardest things to do is tell our own story because you're in it every day. So having some of those extra thoughts on the outside.
That's right.
Sean, anything to add on that before we
but also,
the next space?
But also, with the ag as well, especially in the cattle industry, if you want to collect a lot of data, you need hardware too, right? There's also opportunity in the space for different hardware. There are a lot of people doing some, just putting big tags and being able to track virtual fences, being able to track your animals, and so there's a lot of, but at the same time, everything leads to collection of data. How do you interface what is coming out of those Internet of Things or those hardware, to the customers or to the ranchers, and how do they interpret all of that? So there has to be a fit, right, in everything. So there's a lot of opportunities, and also one of the cool thing about where the ag space is going is it's very exciting because now I think post-COVID, everybody is now more accepting of technology, right? They're more receptive, right? Prior to that is like, nah, I'm good, whatever. But I think COVID changed a lot of people's paradigm and understanding like without technology, we can't really function, right? So a lot of producers are now trying to be more virtual, and also, marketing their animals and all of that.
Absolutely.
Not only just taking that one-on-one contact, but also how do you scale and reach more people in different spaces at the same time, right? So there's a lot of all this technology that's working hand in hand, and this is very exciting for the expert, especially for the next generation as well, because they grow up into technology. They want to save time. They want to save money. They don't want to trade money for time. They want to be able to do what they do, but also spend more time and live a more comfortable life as well. So they want that balance. And in order for you to get that balance, you have to include technology. It's just, there's no how about that. You know what I mean? And especially if you're supplying food to the world, you have to have, because now again, people want to know where their food is coming from. So it's a different age now, how people digest and see and receive information as well. So yeah, it's very exciting.
Oh, absolutely. I think one question I would have though is if somebody's evaluating new technology, what's some of the advice that you would give, let's say to a rancher or a company? There's 1,000 things like, coming at everybody every single day. You can't, be on Instagram or TV or anything without something blasting up. What advice do you guys have, Sean? I'll start with you, for people to evaluate this stuff.
I mean, evaluate technology is on both sides, right? Who's the provider and who's receiving it, right? As you're receiving it, you want to understand, okay, what am I doing right now? What are my pain point, right? How is this technology is going to streamline my process, but not take me away from what I'm comfortable doing? Just literally, what's the added value that's also going to save me time and saving me money? Because if you look at even just in the livestock space right now, everything is time and money. They operate on a very, very small margin. So if they're using your technology, it has to tell them exactly what they need to do and also give them a very precise way to get the return on their investment, right? There's no way, no how about that.
Mm-hmm.
So as a receiver, that's what you want to target. Is this technology, is it going to add value to what I'm doing? Is it going to streamline my process? Is it going to get me a return on my investment? Is it going to help my customers as well, right? And is it really going to make my life easy, right? My decisions and everything, how is that going to add value, right? That's how you evaluate the technology. Now, on the other side, as far as building the technology, which I did from scratch up, is understanding, right? Again, what's the problem, right?
Yes.
Or first and first, and do people care about what I'm doing much enough? But also understanding, okay, in our mind as tech provider and as scientists, whatever, we don't really trying to connect on the other side and really understanding how their operation and how they're doing things and what we're doing. How is that going to integrate, not just create value, but easily get them integrated into what they're doing, but also create value at the same time, right? So those are all of the things that you need to really focus on and really throw the questions to the people that's going to use your technology and get all of that information, and now build your MVP around that, right? And put it in their hands. They will tell you, okay, this is what I want. Can you do this and do this? And with that, give it a better idea, but also you understand the main guidelines and focus of what you're trying to build anyway, right? So, technology has to be very flexible now. You can't just build something that is not flexible. That you have to be flexible in everything you do, right? And that's how we build AgBoost, right? We understand the grand vision of what we're trying to do. How do we put data in people's hands that will give them time to be more selective, to bring value, but also how do we make that easy for them so that it doesn't take them away from what they're doing, but it really add value to what they're doing, and also not them, but also change their lives in the way they can now be in a more position and empower them, because you want to give technology, and your technology has to be a way to empower your customers as well, right? Absolutely. Because when your technology empower your customers, it gives them the ability for them to even want to be part of something bigger, right? Everybody want to be part of something bigger, right? So all of those variables has to be in check, right? For you to understand why you're building the technology and and then also make it agnostic enough that you can use it in multiple ways, right? Not just in what you're doing alone, but how can you also leverage it in other ways as well? So those are how you evaluate. In my perspective, that's how we kind of build AgBoost around, and it's creating a lot of dividend for us, because now we can not just sell not just to the ranchers, but also other people can also leverage our analytics as well, which really create immense value in what we're doing. An opportunity now, how do you also collaborate strategically, integrate your platform to other platforms as well? Because
Absolutely.
as you know, technology moves so very fast, right? So you have to have strategic partnership in this space because you can't work on everything, right? But also you want to stay trending as well. So how do you continue to create value with your technology? How do you continue to add more features? And all of that is also listening to the people that is using your technology as well, taking what and continue to move it forward. So that's how you stay engaged on my end.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, technology moves so fast. My iPhone charger I just got yesterday is probably already obsolete today. Mark, anything to add on that technical evaluation and really just kind of how it all comes together?
I would reiterate, which is really a fancy way of saying I'm going to summarize what Sean just said. But I mean, obviously, as a producer, return on investment is number one. If it's not, if it's going to cost, in my opinion, the conversation, it's price versus cost, right? There's a price to buy something, and then there's a cost to use it, right? So you have to be mindful of both of those, right? Does the initial price, when you're evaluating it, does it meet your needs? Can you afford it? But then in the operation of it, is it going to cost you more money or save you money, right? So I always break things down from a price versus cost perspective, and part of that cost is exactly as Sean said, is in my experience in the financial services world, it wasn't necessarily about what you offered, but who did you integrate with, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things we don't do a very good job in the ag world today. And I'm an evangelist for this now, but it's I want that to be the same. It's not about, why would I take the brain damage if somebody's already built it, right? And why don't I just go and just integrate with you, and let's make your product better, make my product better, and we're all better, right? I use a term I've coined it. It's called co-opetition, right? Yes, we can compete. Maybe I have some things that you don't. You have some things that I don't. Let's work together, right? So I think in the future, if you look at that from an evaluation perspective as a producer, nobody wants to go to multiple different sites to do things. How many passwords do you have to remember, right? So can you get a platform that is good across your enterprise, right, for what you do? Again, your phenotypical data, the genetic data, your EPD data, whatever data you're collecting or however you're collecting, it's really going to be about that. And then plus that also adds transparency. Again, I preach transparency because transparency in our business translates out to the consumer, which means more consumer demand because we're doing things right. So I think really, in my opinion, when I look at things, again, I evaluate it from a price versus cost perspective. Ease of use, if it's not easy to use, you're not going to use it. I mean, we all have had that experience of we tried something out, it failed a couple of times, or you kicked you out, and you couldn't do it, and you just said, forget it, put it to the side, and you're going on. Nobody in today's world has time to mess with stuff that doesn't work, right? So you have to have that. You have to have a platform that works. So anyway, that's what I would add to that.
Yeah, I think we've always all agreed that it has to be a tool, not a task. It has to integrate.
There you go.
And has to pass
Love
that.
the way I'm going to steal that, by the way.
All yours, Mark. All yours. Yeah.
There you go.
So as at Charles Aris, our daily task is to help people find the best person for the role they're trying to work with. And being specializing in the ag sector, we're seeing more and more people maybe seeing that they need that next level of technology, that next level of expertise that might not necessarily always come from a traditional ag space. Are you guys seeing some of that? And if so, how do you think we should go about helping bridge those two worlds of traditional ranch, if you will, and some tech and some of that insight and blending those?
So okay, so this can go many layers, right?
We got to keep it somewhat in the ditch, but yeah.
So for me, I'm a prime example. I'm not in the ag space. I'm an outsider, right? And one of the things that I saw, and also when you look at agriculture in general, what connects agriculture well with technologies, because some of those technology that you use for human is also for animals. So there's always a bridge, right? There, right? There's certain tools that you might be able to do, because in the animal space, in the human space, they're using DNA testing. They're doing all of the stuff as well.
Absolutely.
As the vaccines and all the lingo that we hear in a human space is the same thing in the animal space as well, right? So there's always a crossover, right? But the problem is, even on the outside as well, is in order for you to really penetrate, and really understand where you see opportunities, you also have to learn that space as well, right? So there's also a learning curve for an outsider as well. But there's always a value because there's different perspective, right? You see things differently, and not like Mark said again, in order for you to really get to the next level, you need other minds, right? So when other
Yeah.
mind comes together, guess what they create? They create a mastermind. Now there's opportunity, bringing new technology, bringing new spaces, bringing new intellect, new perspective, right? And merging it with a space that literally, can even have the opportunity to take things to the next level. So it has to be that way. I mean, especially because everybody in that space also have a diverse skill set that can be transferable as well, right? So the agricultural space, is one of those unique space that is not an exciting space, but is a space that nobody can live without, because
Yeah.
everybody got to eat, right? So yeah, so and,
Oh,
and
yeah.
now that we're in the tech space, some of this technology also can be transferable as well, especially in the digital space where everybody is now focusing on the how do I do this? You got to have the data to understand that everything is now on precision. Everything is now, not just doing it on time, but doing it very well and doing it efficiently. And how can you even improve, times 10 on how you actually doing it? So now the same technology that they're screaming on the outside also can be applied on the inside as well. So there's always going to be a crossover. So everybody just have to be open-minded and be a little more receptive of other ideas, because it does nothing but the good for the industry as a whole. So that's, for me, that's the way I would look at it.
Mark, what say you, good sir?
Yeah, I think, for me, it's an interesting world we live in the ag world, right? I mean, for those of us that grew up in it, it's just second nature, right? And sometimes we forget that people that are outside of it, people are now, used to a few generations ago, everybody knew somebody in the farming and ranching business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now, I mean, there's kids growing up that have no idea what a farming and ranch is, right? But one of the exciting things, part of that to attract people to this industry, specifically, I think technology is really starting to bring some smart people back into it, because people have really figured out that with technology, we can teach people about the agriculture industry, right? Where before, without this type of technology, without podcasts, without YouTube, without
Mm-hmm.
social media, and without that ability to communicate with mass amounts of people immediately, it was hard to teach people about the ag space, right? You'd sell an experience, come to the ranch and, spend a day with me and come see what I do. And, and that's not, you can't scale that. That's not scalable, right?
Well, yeah,
So
yeah.
one of the things this podcast, for example, it helps us scale the industry up and gets us in front of those people that, for example, that are investors, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
people that just want to learn more about the industry or learn more where their food comes. Because as Sean mentioned, there's not much more important, right? Without food, we don't live. I mean, this is kind of how it is, right? I mean, and we understand that in the ag industry, right? Where those of us that grew up in it take that responsibility very seriously. But I really believe that because there are exciting things going on in the technology world, we're attracting more people into it. Developers, for example, right?
Oh, yeah.
I
Well
mean,
said.
listen,
Absolutely.
developers are, you've got to have them, and you've got to have some great ones, right? I mean, you can't just have some run-of-the-mill guy. If you want to make an outstanding product, you have to have an outstanding developer, right? Well, there's so
Mm-hmm.
many things that grabs their attention that they can be a part of. But now we're doing things in the ag industry that are really having those guys take a look at us and say, wow, that's something I'd like to be a part of.
Absolutely.
It's,
So yeah, absolutely.
I've seen even, we are definitely surrounded by that sort of, I think, awakening to some degree. Like, like John Deere, for example, hired a chief tractor officer for a year to be like, on social media and just pounding out that message of like Sean said, you may not think ag's like the most fun thing or the sexiest, but like everybody needs it because that's where food comes from. It comes from the ground or growing, not necessarily at the back of the store. So I think it's going to be interesting to see that continue. It's going to shift a lot of sectors. I think people are going to maybe get a chance to go, work at this engineering firm or go maybe into ag. You might take the ag side. So that's great
Absolutely.
to see.
And
Yeah.
and what's so exciting about the ag space is a lot of opportunities, right? And because is an industry that is one of the oldest industry, right? And is one of the industry that hasn't really technology hasn't really invaded that space that much. It's just, now, let's say in the past 10 years that, we now screaming multiple technologies coming from different sources and whatnot, but there's still a lot of opportunities in the ag space. And like Mark said, developers, like, everybody from engineer, from just understand, from just scientists looking at different opportunities to improve food and create opportunities to be able to interface different things and create and different different IoTs and just hardwares and stuff like that. I mean, it's just tremendous opportunity in the ag world, and you can see in the in now all those technologies that actually coming in, they're not even from the people in the space anyways, other people that are now being more creative and now want to try to connect that technology in the ag space. And I think that's where the rubber meets the road is okay, now all of this technology that is coming in, how do we now interface with people that don't even want to play with technology at all, right? So it's, there's a lot of learning curve, right? And like on both sides as well, so yeah. But overall, I think the opportunities is endless. The ag and a lot of investors now are now bringing money into ag tech as well because they see the value. You know what I mean? And they're understanding that space better and better now. And the population is always going to continue to go, and we're going to have more people to feed. You know what I mean?
They're not making any more dirt. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, so exciting times, man.
Outstanding. Well, I always like to wrap up, if I can, with sort of a fun question. So I'll throw this to both of you gentlemen. What's the one piece of technology you can't go without in your day-to-day life?
Oh man. Okay, so for me, I say on the software side though. So I take Uber a lot, right?
Oh yeah, Uber. Nice.
Yeah, I'm a very simple person, right? I like to not worry about a lot of things, right? So I move around differently. I don't even have a car, so I take Uber a lot. So and I travel all the time. So for me, Uber is like my number one thing. I'm making a joke. I tell every time I go inside of Uber, I tell people, I say, Uber need to hire me to be their spokesperson.
Absolutely.
Right? Because anywhere in the country, I'm always on Uber, man. It's crazy. So that's one piece of technology, because it's just the idea that you can just be in one place. You don't have to worry about whatever. Just in the next, there's a driver waiting for you. Boom. And when you go to busy city, you don't have to worry about parking space. You don't worry about any of this. You don't have to worry about car insurance. Nothing. If that breaks down, you get another one right away. Right? So for me, that's one piece of technology that that is really close to my heart. And Uber, they better. I know that somebody over there listening to this podcast.
They better be. Yeah.
They need to come hire AgBoost's CEO to be their spokesperson. But yeah, that for me, that's one piece of technology that I use very, very judiciously almost every day.
I wouldn't have guessed that, Sean. That's outstanding.
Absolutely.
Mark, what about you, good sir?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go low tech, my glasses, because I'm blind as a bat without them. But from a high tech perspective, I've been using a new AI powered calendar called Motion that really has changed my life from a scheduling perspective.
Interesting.
As you can imagine, we're super busy people, and this calendar kind of learns your patterns and et cetera, and having that it just makes my schedule adjustments for me. I don't have to adjust it or do anything. It's great. It's fantastic. I'm really learning. It's rapidly becoming my electronic leash. If it doesn't happen on Motion, it generally doesn't happen. So there you go.
Wow, I thought anything could leash you down. That's outstanding.
Yeah,
I wouldn't guess either one of those. Those are great answers. I was totally way off base on both of those. So, with that, I think we'll wrap up this episode. Mark, Sean, I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate you joining us today. Looking forward to the next conversation as well.
Absolutely.
Certainly, if you guys are both on LinkedIn, I think they can just search AgBoost online. We'll have contact information, I'm sure, in the description down below as well. The Charles Aris newsletter has it. My LinkedIn has it as well. So get a chance to stop by, shoot your questions over to me or Mark or Sean if you have any. Again, thanks for your listening today. And gentlemen, thanks again for joining us.
Oh, Mark, thank you for having us, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.